Welcome to episode 17 of the Bear Tiger podcast. I'm joined today by Mark Raven.
Morning.
And James Slate on his phone.
How are we?
He's checking stats and numbers, no doubt. So, pretty big week for the world of golf, but not at the top level, at the slightly lower down level of the Challenge Tour. So let's start there. We'll get back to what you boys have been up to this week afterwards, but let's go straight in with the Challenge Tour thing. We got it on the television where we're podding from. I watched most of it yesterday. There's a few names in there, that players that I know and we know. So yeah, even though it's not quite major championship stuff, it's a major to these guys. Played out in Mallorca. It was a culmination of the Challenge Tour. The top 20 players from the year-long standings get a DP World Tour card, which is absolutely life-changing to pretty much all these guys on some level, from guys who have dropped down the tours, guys who are on their way up. And it's a stressful situation. Mark, you've been in some Q school situations on different tours and so forth. It's quite that similar sort of pressure, knowing that, you know, a good week could change your following year completely. Yeah,
it's obviously a big week. You know, some of these guys get to play through and then this just comes around. Maybe there's a week or two's notice. But for other guys on lower tours, you could literally spend 2 or 3 months preparing for this, whether it's 2 days on the lower tours, 3, 4 on the other ones, or 6 on the old school, the sort of tour school. Yeah, you can be spending, as I say, up to 3 months preparing for it, or just a week. But it is mega stressful. Yeah,
because alongside the Challenge Tour final was the stage 2 of the DP World Tour school. So, you know, it would have been, we got the PGA Tour playing like in the wraparound season, doing the early no pressure kind of events before Christmas. But then as you drop down, it's just stress time, big time right now for everybody else trying to make it to those tours. And there was 4 different second stages of DP World Tour Q school.
Where were they hosted, Zed? Are they all kind of...
all in Spain.
Spain, yeah.
Yeah, all in Spain. I listed them off. Emporda was the first one. Then Las Colinas was the next one. Then 2 that I haven't heard of before. And then they worked their way towards Infinitium, which is the finals. But
you like Las Colinas, don't you? Is that right? Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, I quite like Las Colinas. Yeah, I've gotten through there a couple of times. But yeah, Tour School is just not a nice place. And this Challenge Tour Grand Final is a similar sort of thing, really. You know, you've probably got the top 17 or so, 16 maybe are guaranteed to get through. But then, you know, you don't want to be in spots 18, 19 or 20 because they're the ones that are up for grabs. And, you know, as always, you've got to keep playing well. But, you know, our mate Todd Clements, he entered the week 14th, had a stinker of a finish yesterday, but only dropped back to 16th in the end. He was pretty much safe. Had his mum was texting me yesterday saying, I don't understand all this. I don't understand all this. I'm really nervous. What can you tell me what's going on? And I was texting him like, literally, he could finish last. And he's got a 22 shot gap between him and last right now, and he'll be okay. So I was like, just crack open the champagne. Yeah. But then watching the coverage, there's someone makes a birdie, it pushes somebody out, and then someone like makes a par on, say, the 17th hole, then bogey's the last, and then now they're out, but then someone else makes a bogey, so they're back in again.
We were hoping for a bit more of this last week at the Portuguese Masters with a 117, you know, because it didn't quite pan out with a big story. But obviously with, I guess it was Sadie who was the one who was like trying to steam through the field, who knew he needed to finish in the top 2, I think, to maybe sneak in. If he won, he would have definitely got his card. I quite like about this Tour Challenge final is that if you're in 43rd and you win, you've got a really, really good chance of still getting one of the top 20 spots. So it's like everybody in the field, no cut, has got a really, really good chance. And I think talking about Todd, I spoke to him after the first round. He came out the blocks really well. I think he was projected to go into 3rd. Was he in a tie for 3rd or a tie for 1st? I think he's in a tie for 1st after about 20 holes. And then, you know, I'm not sure whether or not it mentally knows he's already home and dry, and he's just probably thinking about the next part of his schedule and resting up and all the rest of it. And congratulations to him, really happy for him. But yeah, this was just back and forth. And as Mark mentioned, as we were walking up the stairs, there's a couple of old school Englishmen as well shot through, Mark, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. Yeah. There's been Matt Baldwin. He crept in on, what was that, 19th card?
He did, yeah. He started the week at 22nd and had played really well in that last round. Stumbled across the line, really, finishing bogey. But he was the one pushing Nathan Kimsey, who was the eventual winner.
And eventually won the Challenge Tour, right?
Yeah, started out the rankings at 6th and moved up to win the Challenge Tour, James. And he kind of pushed them all the way. So he did finish bogey, Matt Baldwin, but got his card, 19th card. And, I'm really pleased for him because he's worked really, really hard. And, it's not always been easy for Matt Baldwin. He's had some off-course stuff go on with his health and so forth. And then to put the effort in and get it back was really cool to see. Bryce Easton, he was a pretty big jumper, jumped up 20 spots to grab 18th place. He was the biggest mover, which is pretty cool. Alongside John Parry, who got to 17th. He moved up 17 spots, who I'm pretty sure he had the birdie of the last and hit it inside 2 feet on the last hole and got to tap it in for that, which was pretty ballsy.
Yes, pure.
Yeah, that was really good. But yeah, commiserations to Mathieu Kradetsky and Alejandro Del Rey, both missing out by less than €2,000 or points, which is really, really painful. But they do get another bite of the cherry at the final stage of the DP World Tour Q School. So not all over for them.
How many spots under the 20th said go straight into, or does everybody go straight to finals who was in the Tour Challenge?
Yeah, so everybody was in top 45 goes to the final stage.
Right, okay.
So yeah, it's not end of the world. But then even Nathan Kimsey, he's trying to win the Tour because if he wins the Tour, there'll be bigger events that he gets into. There'll be
of course,
Rolex events and so forth. So if you're inside the top 5, you get into all the big ones. So if you finish 7th, it's a big difference between finish 7th and 5th.
Yeah.
In the opportunity of what money you can have a go at next year. So, but you could just see some of the shots, like kind of Nathan Kimsey off the first. As it turned out, he ended up in a pretty good spot, but on the first tee shot, he sniped it straight left. Just one of the worst shots he'd probably hit all week. You think this guy is supposed to be number one, and it even got to him.
Probably the best hole to do it on, though, isn't it? It's like a 500-yard par 5,
wide open.
It opens up a bit. I mean, I think you see Baldwin's drive. He bounced it on the he hit it pretty flat. So he's just, I think, because there's a bit of a gust, and he pitched it on a car path at about 275. And he was genuinely like 115 yards ahead of the guy. I can't remember the other person in their group, but he had like 9-iron into the stick. It was just nuts.
Yeah, Bryce Easton,
yeah.
Who hit? He hit a 3-wood off the tee though.
Well, it's only 500 yards, isn't it? So
yeah, but why would you not drive? It's wide open, wasn't it?
Nerves.
It's nerves.
It's nerves.
Yeah, it's nerves. But yeah, lovely looking golf course. The weather looked pretty benign on the last day. Kimsey kind of took the tournament by the scruff of the neck in the back nine, a hole and eagle putt on the par 5, and it was pretty much done and dusted by that point. But yeah, congrats to all those guys who have put in the effort all year long. Special mentions from Marco Penge, who's finishing inside the top 45. He will have another go at Q School coming up. But yeah, you know what? I don't recognise that many names these days. Getting old. There's a couple of names in there who I thought were people that I know, but they're just obviously they're probably the sons of the people that I know.
Yeah, it could be.
Just scrolling through. But as you say, John Parry. He's been off the radar. He's bounced Euro Pro, top 5, straight to Challenge Tour, top 20, and now he's back on the tour. I mean, that's a guy he's been a tour school specialist in the past. I think he's got through a number of times.
Has he ever held his card on the main tour after making it through?
He has once or twice.
Yeah.
He's done it, yeah. He played in the US Open a couple of times. Yeah, quite an interesting off-course situation going, which we won't talk about on there. I'll tell you what later. Or if anyone wants to ask me, can't ask me in person.
It just highlights the journey, doesn't it? That all these, most tour players, whether it be PGA Tour, European Tour, or lesser tours, the journey that they all go through. I mean, we focus quite heavily a lot of the time on the top boys, and rightly so. But for the most part, everyone's got their own story that's affected by so many different things, and they're all really, really interesting in their own right. And as you say, sometimes I really enjoy watching the lower end where people are on the mark, where there's a lot to sort of gain, but also a lot to lose, and that's great to watch. I mean, obviously there will be losers, and it'll be sad to see, but I don't think that's covered enough. I don't think we see enough on a Friday of the cut golf. Do you know what I mean? I don't know why on a Friday, which is kind of right in the middle of everything, we don't necessarily need to see what the leaders are doing. let's move to what's happening around the cut, because there will be stories around that week in, week out. It will mean something for someone and something for someone else. So, and also, I think most of the golfing population will be able to relate to that kind of pressure one way or another, and maybe some of the poorer shots or the way that people might have to manage their game just to get it across the line.
Yeah, that little feeling when your game's slightly on the decline, you're just trying to hang on to just scrape through to the weekend, thinking it will be all better tomorrow if I can just get through.
Yeah, definitely.
But it is a really good story. When the Netflix documentary comes out, I think that'd be really good just to see the other side of, like, obviously you'll see people win and do well, but that other side where people are like hanging on and it's stressful and they're, maybe chipping away at their caddy, or when they come off, maybe where they're just like blaming somebody else, or and also the elation of getting through the cut, going through the feeling of struggling and finding something at the end to just get yourself to the other side.
Well, as you say, hopefully the Netflix documentary captures, because they're working with a group of players throughout the year, you'll have that journey, won't you? If you can focus on one or two guys and watch the whole journey, it will be great to see, because there will be highs and lows. That'll be pretty cool.
Yeah.
And that's meant to be, I think that's coming out in January, isn't it?
Yeah.
I've heard.
Pretty soon.
I'm excited about that. Yeah. That'll be a binge watch. It's Netflix, so you will be able to binge watch it. That will definitely be a binge watch.
I think one also to mention on the Challenge Tour who got his card, Zed, was we were watching him earlier in the year, that young lad, Tom McKibben. I don't know if he chased Todd down, but he started a round of golf, didn't he, with like 7 in a row or something. Mm-hmm. But it was I think he only turned pro during the season because he was knew that it was turning out quite well for him. He's only recently turned 19, first year on the Challenge Tour, finishes 10th, got his main tour playing right. It's under the age of 20. It's pretty special.
Yeah, that's really, really good, that. To fly through at such a young age as well, to have like no scar tissue and go whoosh straight through to the tour. It could be a star in the making.
I think golf's coming a little bit like tennis now, isn't it? Where these young guys are coming through and they're ready to go, and it's getting younger and younger, isn't it? You say 19, like tennis now, I think if you're not doing it by 13, and it's time to call it a day. It seems obviously that won't be. I'm not big on tennis,
but by the time you're 13,
but the numbers are. I think we're starting to see younger and younger guys being just ready to go, ready to win, and also willing to take the risk earlier. So not too worried about some college or some university. Yeah. They're ready to go. And
look at Tom Kim. What is he now? 19, 20 maybe. He's been a pro for about 5 years.
Yeah.
Really?
He's already won the Asian Tour. Yeah, he's he's coming to the PGA Tour this year. He's done fantastically, but he's already won the Asian Tour. And he's a kid basically, which is testament to what Mark's saying. I think the training is so different. It used to be a bit of guesswork, whereas now it's not really any guesswork. Now everyone knows what makes a good player, what speed it is, what their dispersion need to be, how good they need to be at putting. It's more of a calculation to work out what you got to do, rather than before it was a bit like, did you have some weird little superpower which was going to carry you through, and it was, did you have enough talent? But now, it's much more calculated, a bit like football, I suppose. They have, there'll be a bit of a system for, what sort of size, what sort of strength, what sort of speed, and then there's the touch of being spotted by the right person, by the right coach or whatever. But
I think those guys are more informed, aren't they, now? So the coaches and the scouts and whoever it is, the performance mentors, they can pick out these things earlier, get working on them earlier, and like you say, the formula is less guesswork.
Yeah, I mean, back to when we would have played, it wasn't, I can't remember ever being in the England setup, ever being put on, I think maybe once we were put on some sort of a TrackMan monitor, but it wasn't really a TrackMan monitor, it was some other thing that Titleist brought down. And everyone's swing speeds were really high, but it's because they used to put a marker on the toe, and obviously the toe swings much faster than the heel. So everyone thinks they swing at 130 miles per hour back then, but it wasn't the case. It was just where the toe swings faster. But other than that, I can't remember any sort of technical data, or there was no system other than who won the swindle that day.
I did a very, very early on, when I was probably about 19, I did a biomechanics thing with Kingston University. There was someone doing a study, and if you look at what the systems are now and how sort of unintrusive and simple they are to set up versus what I spent probably a whole day in there, and it probably took 2 hours to set me up in my pants and my socks with all the markers to just hit a few balls, and then you'd have to recalibrate for 30 minutes. It was archaic, but again, cutting edge at that point, and led the way for probably where we are now with some of that stuff. But yeah, it's moved on. The game has changed.
We used to have the Essex players out of the Essex team. They used to come down to American Golf in Braintree because we had like a sim monitor, and they come down and like, you know, their dad would be like, oh yeah, no, we're looking at a new set of clubs. And I just knew, like, after they'd been in there for like,
to John Letters.
Not American Golf, but after they'd been in there 35 minutes and like gone through the bags, they're just doing their numbers. So like on a Saturday when you got like queues of people wanting to try out R510 TaylorMades, you got like some lad just like grooving 6 irons into the bay.
Or just working on his game.
I think they were just getting the numbers, like carry numbers.
He hits it.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, you know, what's the wind like? I'm like, I don't know. It's not, you know.
It's obviously downwind, so I can sell more.
Yeah. Well, you used to do that. Like that actually used to be what you used to do. You used to calibrate to your favour.
And altitude.
Yeah.
I took my dad for a fitting up on A217 years ago, and I thought I was going along with him. There was this geezer in there, and he goes and he starts hitting shots, and he's hitting 7-iron like 175, 180, and Dad hits it 145, 150 on a good hit, you know, carry numbers. And I was just thinking, this guy must not know that I know what I'm talking about here. And he's hitting these shots, and he gets his hybrid out, and he hits his hybrid, and he starts going like 240, and like he doesn't hit his hybrid 240, no chance. He's going like 30 to 40 yards longer than what it would normally. And I remember just saying to the guy, is that like setting on altitude or downwind? And he was like, oh yeah, so yeah, of course it was. So it was
40
like,
degrees of heat.
It's just outrageous. If he was smart, he would have bumped it up a little bit, but like to put 30 yards onto a 7-iron is just like, it's ridiculous, you know.
The worst thing is, I'm pretty sure I know the place and the guy that you're talking about.
I can't remember the geezer's name. He wasn't there for very long.
Disclaimer: it was not me.
Would you know who he is?
I think I do. Yeah.
It was quite a few years ago.
Yeah. I think I know.
No
naming and shaming.
Yeah, don't go to him, whoever it is. What else is happening this week? PGA Tour was in Mexico at the Mayakoba, which looks like a really amazing
serious
resort.
Spot, yeah.
It's unbelievable. Kind of hence why they get a half decent field down there this time of year, which is probably struggling for fields. Russell Henley kind of bossed it. It seems to be like a really good. He kind of sits just above a journeyman. Doesn't really ever figure in any majors, but he's happy. He's won, I think, 4 times now, maybe 5 times. He's just a really good player. There's a few players sitting in that bracket. You think you never hear from him, but then you look at his stats. You think, oh, he's making all the cuts. Always keeps his card. Always finishes kind of between 30 and top 100. I think. What do you reckon, Mark? I think the fact that he wins pulls him a little bit out of the journeyman bracket.
It's his 4th win.
Yeah, definitely. He's just a solid guy, isn't he? And he's been around for a long time as well. Probably at least a decade.
Yeah.
2011 he turned pro.
Oh, there you go. That's not bad. Yeah, no, I was listening to on the way over. I listened to the NLU podcast, and they had an interesting point about him and some of the other guys like Brian Harmon, etc., where they're kind of in the category where if they were walking through the airport, you know, they're never going to get bugged because no one knows who they are. So they've got that perfect level where their bank account is constantly being topped up. Like
probably on like 20, 30 million.
Living the dream, but having
price.
None of the interruptions or the responsibilities that the top players have. So yeah, like you say, it's kind of, I don't know these guys personally, but it could be just the perfect scenario for them. Like they're banking all the time, but they can do it the way they want to do it without interruption and all the media responsibilities. Like it could just be the perfect area to operate in. But yeah, no, they're not prolific winners, like not big names. And hence why I think for me, I tried to get into the PGA Tour this week, and it's just a hard watch, isn't it? Especially that yesterday, 6 ahead, like even the guys on air yesterday were writing it off after 6. After he'd made those 3 birdies after his single bogey on the par 5, they'd written it off, and I was like, well, what am I watching for? If you're being paid to commentate on this and you're done, then why am I clocking in? So yeah, it's a tough watch, but you know, a great win.
I keep hearing that word journeyman, and a few people even on the commentary on the telly keep talking about it, and you just sitting there, you're trying to justify kind of who falls into that caliber of player or not. But I mean, if you look at his numbers, it's his 4th win on tour. He's had 249 starts, 250. He's finished in the top 10 37 times, which is mad, really. I mean, that's unbelievable. And he's Yeah, Zed, you were right on the money. $22 million career earnings on course. He's 33 years old. You can't not walk away from that. And
we spent 21 of it on booze and birds.
Yeah, decent. What ledge. But like, you can't not go and sit there at your Thanksgiving and think, done all right here, haven't I? I mean, that's laying down the marker as a multiple PGA Tour winner. I was looking at someone the other day because, funnily enough, when we had the apartment that Nicole and I had when we were in Dubai, when we were staying out there during lockdown, a family that we'd got quite cool chatting to. The lady had actually, I was sitting there talking to her name was Ruth, and her current husband, who is very successful in his own right, he just sold one of those kind of mini businesses to Amazon that was set up on the Amazon store. But she had a choice between him and Martin Laird, and she went in that direction. So I've paid closer attention to Martin Laird's career since she mentioned that, because I was like, yeah, but he probably would be someone you call a bit of a journeyman on the PGA Tour, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Another guy, $21 million career income, Scottish guy, moved out and studied in college there. Never been in any conversations about Ryder Cups or anything like that. Just journeyed through and made a shed load of kashish.
German players are really, really good golfers. And that's, I think, sometimes a bit of a negative connotation to journeyman. I don't know if it's because of the word used, but those guys know what they're doing. They do it year in, year out. To have somebody keep their car for that amount of time, that's quite something. That's really good. And if you ever get to play golf with a tour player who's been on tour for anywhere between a year to 5 years, they're really good. And then any tour player who's been on the tour for, say, 10 years is like really exceptional, to be honest with you. But we get spoiled a little bit by, well, I think there are two things. We get spoiled a little bit by the world-class players that we get to see all the time, but then maybe the coverage is not good enough, like Mark said, to show the rest of the players and tell those stories. Yeah. Because everyone's got their own story of what makes them, what gets them to where they are. But it's just, I guess in the media, it's kind of built up a certain way. And yes, we do want to see like the best of the best, but
yeah,
because you ever get up close and personal with a journeyman golfer, they really know their shit.
Well, and because that really annoys me, how the coverage has somewhat diminished your viewing opportunity, because maybe he's not as fashionable as a Rory or a Rahm or a DJ or someone like that, but he's a guy who's just gone in there and just obliterated a field. Because when you're a professional, as you'll know, your best golf on your day, you feel like you can beat anyone. Doesn't matter where you're playing, in what field. You just know if you're on, you're on. And he's been on this week. He deserves all the accolades for that. He's beaten there's some pretty good players still in that field who have still gone there, like Hovland and others. And he's just gone there and just turned it up. I think he was 16 under after 2 rounds. He was miles clear, wasn't he, early on? And then I think his final round he only shot 1. So he was 22 after 3 rounds.
Gassed it.
It's just
massive gas pedal. Scotty Scheffler breathing down his neck, who shot 62. Which Scotty Scheffler is obviously a really freaking brilliant player. He's unreal, isn't he? But weirdly enough, I think to me he just looks like a really amazing journeyman. But you know what? But that's nothing to do with his golf. I think that's more because of like him because he's just like a normal geezer. And he doesn't have that like fireworks about him. Like John Rahm has like a real he's like really emotional and has like a real presence about him. Where Scotty Scheffler, by comparison, doesn't have that presence. But he's obviously got a big time game. But maybe is it the way he dresses, the fact that he rolls around in his old pickup truck that he had in college and that sort of stuff. He's just a much more low key sort of geezer.
Where's Tiger's shoes?
I just wonder if the way golf has gone, it's become it's big business now, isn't it? And as you say, there's a formula. Whether or not that whole thing is just sterilised the characters in the game. Like everyone sticks to themselves, especially on the PGA Tour. They know what they want to do, how they want to do it. And I don't know whether that does just stifle some of the characters coming through.
So if you had Scotty Scheffler, right, you're his manager, what would you do to get him a bit more of an exciting profile?
There's got to be something he does in his life that
he said after he won the Masters, he went home and mowed his lawn.
Yeah, it's probably like Leishman. Leishman loves it, doesn't he?
Just say do diamonds next time. Don't do lines.
Leishman's got a bit of character about
him. He does,
yeah. He's quite funny, isn't he? Aussies are generally quite they're a bit more out there, and they're not as reserved, are they, in their comments and stuff. Whereas what would you do with Scotty Scheffler?
But everyone says that Scotty's
wearing pink shirts or something.
You see after some of these tournaments when the mic's live and everyone's congratulating each other, and Scotty's parents say just lovely things to the person that's just beaten their son, or he says great things. Like, he's obviously a good guy, good background, great family, but there's still got to be something. There's got to be a spark for him, something that makes him wake up in the morning outside of golf and think, yeah, pumped for today. I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that.
What if they like mic'd him up or something like that?
Yeah.
Because I feel like that gives, like, say, like, Spieth doesn't need to be mic'd up because he's just always gibbering away, and so they send the mics out to him. But Justin Thomas, they've mic'd up a couple of times. And that kind of helps a little bit. I know he's got himself in trouble, isn't he, with a bit of dodgy comments, but it does give him a bit of character.
He swears all the time, like, as well.
Even if someone comes across as a sensitive golfer, if you can just hear the conversations between caddy and, do you know what I mean? Like, there are guys out there that are characters, but if they're guys that might be quite sensitive and the conversations are quite considered and things like that with the caddies or anything like that, that will still give you a better insight into this person. And some people, exactly, like, then some people might be able to attach something to him, but at the minute, as you say, you can't put a label on him, and there are plenty of guys out there you can't put a label on because you don't get enough time or insight into them around that week on tour. It doesn't have to be on the golf course or even in the media room. It can be on the range, it could be when they're eating, when they're going to the gym. Like, there will,
just because he ducks out of, because he doesn't do as many interviews or he doesn't get asked or whatever it is. Because I feel like the other number ones, you know all about them. But
yeah, with the media, just will click. If he takes himself out of that scenario, the media won't engage, and so therefore, it's almost like the media will say, "Well, look, we could have made you this person, but now we're not going to bother because you're not giving us anything." I'm sure 100% there will be an element of that. If you don't play with us, we're not going to play with you, type thing.
Because he's not disliked, is he? He's just like
not at all.
There just doesn't seem to be much substance behind what it is. Even with DJ, like, he plays, sometimes he just plays the one-word answers, which actually then becomes quite funny.
He's the Kimi Räikkönen of golf, isn't he? Kimi Räikkönen is, for me, one of the best Formula One drivers, and if I see him on the TV, I'll turn it up, or just to catch that glimmer, that one sentence. If it comes out, it will be golden. And there'll be guys out there that, because he hates the media, he hates any of his commitments. He's there. He loves driving fast and doing all the other stuff with his family. So you could categorize him as boring, but he's not at all. Yeah. You just have to get to him. I think that's the job. The media maybe are a bit lazy in trying to get those characters to come out, but also the player or whoever it might be has to be willing to give you something as well.
If they want to duck out, they can.
And I think some people are different, aren't they? Their management groups, whatever. Some people just aren't willing to give that, and some management groups or teams aren't willing to help them push it to maximise.
But there's also just a point where he might just turn around and say, I don't want it. I am not paid to be a puppet or a ringleader or anything else like that. I have gone through college to be a professional golfer. I'm doing the best to my ability. I'm satisfied.
It's a tricky world, isn't it? Because you sit in that, like,
you look at his record.
You don't want it. Like, we're moving to a different part of golf now, because essentially golf is entertainment. To sit back and say, I don't want to talk to the media, I just want to go and play my golf and be on my own. It's kind of when they sign up to the PGA Tour or the DP World Tour or somewhere, you're signing up to be in the entertainment. Like, you're the face of it. So you're kind of doing everyone else a disservice by saying, I'm not going to talk to anybody, because they can't not talk to the press and so forth. Like, it's a part of the big picture, which growing up, you do go to the putting green and you hit putts thinking this to win the Open, not this to win the Open, and then go and do a press conference. But to get paid the big bucks, you got to play ball, because it's not just for you, it's for the fans. To
allude to your point, though, there will be, if Rory's not playing, technically by design, he's the highest ranked player in the field, from a world ranking perspective. So that would just come with media obligations from signing his PGA Tour contract he'll be obligated to. Outside that, going over and over and above, maybe he's less motivated by it. But just looking at his record then, actually, it's nuts. He finishes in the top 10 every 3 events he plays. Like, he's had 30 top 10s in 90 starts.
Is this Rory?
No, this is Scotty Scheffler.
Sorry.
And he has already won $21 million on tour. But like, to allude to your point, he reminds me a little bit like Brooks, albeit Brooks has kind of played on this whole pantomime villain kind of thing. But he kind of looks like he's the sort of person who he needs like a Michelob or like a Coors Light sponsor or something like that. He's a very traditional American, isn't he?
So if you're his manager, you go out and get. Look,
you've got a pickup truck. Let's get you a Labrador with a bandana and like get you necking a couple of beers at home, whilst chewing grass, sort of thing.
So he's like Brooks in what way? He's like the all-American boy.
Yeah, I think he is. I think he feels like very much an all-American, doesn't he? Very family orientated, quite old school. A lot of the traditional.
Drives a pickup truck.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, very Clark Kent from Kansas, sort of thing.
Right. So you get him a beer sponsor.
Yeah.
Mark, what would you do with him?
It's a tricky one. Just exposure from a media point of view, exposure to something else outside of golf that makes him tick. If you need to, for me, the only way you're going to be able to engage with a character is if you know something more about him. And I think we just don't know any more about Scotty Scheffler other than the fact that we put him in this pigeonhole. We pigeonholed him as this journeyman pro that has somehow made it to world number one. He's smashing it, but he's a bit sort of blah.
Yeah.
There's so many things you could do with him. Thinking quick marketing, he uses a Cameron putter. Just do the Scotty or something like that. Do you know what I mean? A Scheffler sounds like a good name for a car. Get your Scheffler pickup truck. So what'd you do, Zed?
Scotty Scheffler, if you're listening, James is more than happy to.
I'm your marketing guy.
Change your marketing profile. I think to keep it more pure, I would like just mic him up. I think it'd be a really easy thing to do. Just get him and his caddy mic'd up, and you just hear a bit more about what he's about. But yeah, I do like the beer and pickup truck idea. That's
Thank you.
A bit more fun. Right. All right then. So what would you do with Rory? Would you change Rory in any way?
No, I feel like Rory's gone through his journey where they very subtly, once every couple of years.
Rory smashed it, right? Because he's got loads of money and he's getting paid loads because he's not only because he's got a nice golf swing and he's good, but because he always gives you a soundbite.
He's back on Men's Health every so often, so he appeals to a wider market.
You're enjoying that.
He's ripped now, isn't he, compared to when he walked onto tour, when he's holding a bit of puppy fat or whatever. And also, like I know we had not a dispute, just a friendly kind of confrontation. I think he has got better at media as the years go by. Like I think now he's
with Rory.
Yeah, I think he's just gone up the ladder of like appeasing the media, but he's also
been made to look good this last year or so.
Yeah, but he's also quite happy to have his own opinion and like
always, yeah. And he'll always put his neck on the line, and if he fucks it up, he'll own the fact that he messed it up and he'll apologise.
So I don't know really.
Who's another boring player that you could like turn around by a little bit of marketing? Who else have we got there?
Boring player that you could turn around a bit of marketing.
Okay, here's one for you. Berlanger.
Oh, what?
Yeah, that is a tough.
I mean, he's an amazing golfer, isn't he? But around that, he's one of the most boring characters in golf.
Straight shooter.
Yeah.
But his legacy precedes himself, doesn't he? He's almost just like happy to trot around. He's almost quite happy to trot around just on the bravado that he's got so many wins under his belt. He's renowned as like the most successful Champions Tour player ever.
You're not going to have dinner with him, are you?
No.
Well, I'd actually quite like to have dinner just to say like, what made you think...
So you could talk more.
Yeah.
Anyway, Bernard, back to me.
Well, have you got personal experiences then? You just know he just...
I read his book and it was a painful read.
Really?
Absolutely painful. I've read Sam Torrance one that was really engaging. Then you read like some other footballers like the Roy Keane ones, which are like all the stories where he just like goes after people. The Tiger Woods one, even Darren Clark was pretty good. And I remember just getting a Bernard Langer's one. And I just feel, no, what is this? It was so boring. I did get through it, but yeah, it wasn't for me. Yeah, he's a tough one. Let's leave him there. Come on, let's have another name.
Yeah, someone more current, I guess. I find Colin Morikawa really boring.
Go on then. Yeah, he's a good one. Okay, well, where would you go with him?
I don't know. Bar having a really cheeky smile. But he reminds me of the kid who plays the piano in Hangover 3. He looks like that. the
chop his finger off.
Yeah, the brother of the one he marries. Not Hangover 3, Hangover 2 when they go to Thailand. But like with him again, he's probably someone that you need to mic up. He needs to be not so vanilla.
He spoke really well at the speech when he won the Open Championship. And for a young guy just out on tour, he really held his own and he was really confident. And I think we're kind of missing a trick with someone like Colin Morikawa. I think he's got a lot to give.
Trevor Immelman's comments this weekend riled him up, didn't it?
Yeah, I saw that.
He made a comment. I think Trevor Immelman was trying to make a positive comment on that Morikawa's bar was set to a certain standard, and he's reached it type thing.
Yeah.
And I think the way that it was relayed to Morikawa as like, oh, Trevor said this, what do you think?
You can't get any better.
He sort of had it as like the ceiling. So then he sort of had a bit of a chip back and sort
that's
of...
good.
Yeah, it is good. And I think some of these guys just need a bit of prodding, saying, look, we need something more. Like, yes, your management group have probably told you to come in and answer in this way and don't allude to that and don't give them anything on this. But like Rory's benefited from being open and people love him for it. And I think whether the media have got to be a bit more relaxed on some of the questions they ask to give these guys the opportunity to open up a little bit, have a bit of fun. I forget what the Instagram account now is, but there are a group of comedians that are doing some stuff on Live Talk with the Live guys, and they ask a lot of questions in the
to the actual Live guys.
Yeah, to the press conference. In the press conferences,
right,
these guys are openly allowed to ask questions, and they are ridiculous. I'll figure out their Instagram name so people can sort of have a look. They're really funny guys, and the players interact with them and have fun as well.
Uh-huh.
Now I know a lot of the Live guys, maybe they're more in tune with now the whole structure of Live and it being more open and exciting and fun, but they get something out of the players that you never would have got. You know, you just can't imagine even on our tour, Tim Barter asking some of these guys a question that would draw something out of them that's actually interesting. It's like James said, it's all a bit vanilla. So I think just got to be a bit more creative in the questions that we ask.
Some of the I noticed like Iona and NC try and ask a bit more like not as generic golf questions to some of the players, like what they've been doing or what they have, you know, what they have for breakfast, that sort of stuff, which like just gets a bit more out of them.
Yeah, and maybe
I don't really care about if someone's a porridge or whatever, but at least you kind of, they're a bit more normal, and you know, kind of opens them up probably more than.
But the game's so data heavy now that you move away from. I remember back in the day when you were on tour, you used to have to do a profile for the tour, and it was everything like favourite football team, handicap, turn pro. The tour just made it so that you could learn a tiny bit more about the profile of a player. You don't get any of that now. You get name, college they went to, year they turned pro, and then just a shit ton of stats like, you know, optimum driving and how many times they hit out the first cut, and you know, that sort of, it's just numbers. So they turn them a bit robotic anyway, don't they, really, now?
Yeah, they do. Okay. Well, maybe that'll be something we can do next week. We'll pick a player, kind of, right, I found this player, I think he's pretty boring, this is what I'll do with him. I think that's quite a nice little piece there.
Yeah.
I quite like it. So we had some questions from some of the listeners.
I've got some questions as well.
Pinged them through, so I'll go through. Here's one for James. Do you think iron lofts should be set to keep things consistent across all the brands?
Yeah, it's a funny one, that, because like it's one of those things when you're playing with your mates and like they're using a set of TaylorMade 790s and you're using blades, and he's like, mate, I'm hitting 7-iron here. Like I thought you hit it quite far. It's like, yeah, but the loft of your 7-iron is 6 degrees stronger than mine. No, that doesn't make no difference. As like it does, makes about 3 yards carry a degree, but. I think it's one of those things where the manufacturer, certainly for the game improver, they're helping people get the ball out there a little bit further. I think there's going to come a problem when people are going to actually struggle getting the ball in the air again, which is one of the first things you ever teach someone about, just trying to get the ball up, isn't it? You know, so, but I think on tour it's quite cool. I mean, you know, someone like Tiger plays so the end of tradition, and it's actually quite mad how he's probably competitive yardage wise with clubs when he's using a 9-iron that's 44 degrees, you know, when there's like 44 degrees would be a pitching wedge loft now in a set of PXGs or something like that. So he's a whole club out. But yeah, I don't think it makes so much of a difference.
Actually, hitting the ball short with your irons, I think, makes it easier.
Yeah,
because the gaps are smaller between
each club.
Between each club. I remember I was up at Wisley once, and Colin Montgomery was up there, and he was trying some new clubs. And he was chatting about, you know, in typical Monty style, they were like these big old clumpy bad boys. And I was just chatting to him about what they like, and he was like, "Oh well, you know, they're going much further, nearly a club further. I really like them. You know, really going off really nice. They feel great." And I said to him, "Does that not cause a problem for your distances? Can you get bigger gaps?" And then he was like, "Oh yeah, didn't think about that. That's a good point." and then he never seen use those clubs again because he's a man who lived off of distance control. He was like the bollocks. I remember I had a guy called Andy Prodger caddy for me. Andy Prodger caddy for Faldo when he won his first major, I think. Then caddy for Lazabau, caddy for Monty for years and years, and he would always talk about those guys when you're going around, and he would always just say, those boys, they all just go one bounce and stop, and what he was referring to was like their distance control was just, that's what made them better than the next people. And now the game has changed a little bit because it's now about hitting it far. Those guys always hit it short, but approach play, Monty, Faldo, Lazabel, probably the best iron players of their generation for sure, and would be up there, now really. There is a big thing towards, playing on the ego of someone who buys golf clubs. But if you rein it right back, the king is knowing that you have a 7-iron that goes a certain distance and the 6-iron goes a certain distance. One doesn't go miles and one drops off. Because if you do hit a 6-iron that goes miles and then you miss-hit it, there could be like a 20, 30-yard gap in those two shots. Should they be standard across all brands? Like, probably but then there's not really a governing body who says everything has to be a certain way.
Yeah, and every company's lie is different as well. Not every
lies in like lie of the club, or lies in they're lying to everybody about what club they're hitting.
Spelt the same, but two different meanings. But yeah, like not every pitching wedge would be 62 degrees. You see quite a lot of movement between something like 61 and 62 and a half. So it's really important actually for people when they go and get custom fit and they're moving manufacturer. And they've gone and got 1 degree flat in a tailor-made, you need to make sure that you remember what that lie was if you're going to move over to Titleist or Callaway and things like that, because 1 degree flat in one company won't be the same in another. But yes.
Talking about loft and lies and weights and new clubs, James got a new set last week. He was all buzzing, like ordered them, turned up within the week. It was just like couldn't wait to go, and we wanted to play some golf over at Wentworth on the Edinburgh course, and I'm not sure if these lovely new tailor-made clubs are going to make it to round 2.
No.
Are they straight off the rack?
No, they're not off the rack. They've come out of the tailor-made factory, but
off the rack in the tailor-made factory, basically.
Yeah, but they've been built in 4 days. That just isn't. I already had them. I had the lofts and lies checked in the machine, but swing weights feel all over the place.
They were just sat out the back, and they've gone, oi. They look the same as those ones.
There's a left-hander.
Or chuck those out. Get rid of those left-handed ones. They're not the right shaft. Don't worry about that. But put another sticker on them.
Yeah. I need to either stick by them and go and just like check all the swing weights and just do a proper full check, or just not move away from my Titleist that work really well.
They look really nice.
Yeah, they do look nice.
To be fair,
they didn't quite work, and very humble of Zane there not to talk about the result of Friday's game or bring that into.
Won't mention it. Won't mention the 6 and 5 win.
There you go.
Won't be there.
Did you manage to play without getting wet?
Yeah, it was a lovely day on Friday.
Yeah, Friday was the good day.
Good for you.
Friday was a good day.
So I've got a question which relates to it, because we asked the Discord guys and quite a lot of stuff came in this morning. So Josh Sharp, who was actually Zane's partner on Friday, said, can you please ask Zane to talk through the driver of the deck he hit, because he's never seen a shot quite like it.
People love driver of the deck, don't they?
Yeah.
You just put it on the deck, grip down a bit, and you hit down it a touch, and it goes off like a rocket. It's hard to explain exactly how to do it. I would say you just hit it like you would an iron shot and hit down. People think you've got to sweep it and hit it on the up, but you haven't. You actually want to hit down a touch.
Yeah.
There's a bit loft on the club, and if you hit it hard enough, it will launch. Off it goes.
Ball position?
Like an iron, yeah, exactly.
So still under the left armpit, but a bit more lean.
Yeah, just exactly what you would for a 5-iron, put it in the same spot.
Yeah, I mean, just to give a bit of scope on it. So we're playing a par 4 that they held the lead early and held on to it. It was becoming very comfortable.
They held on to it. Did you guys win a hole?
No,
I think you did.
but they were.
Just didn't hand him an egg very well.
We got through to the back 9, and there's a par 4 on the Edinburgh that doglegs left to right quite severely up towards the green. It's about 450. And Zane just created a little mound, and you could see this lad's eyes. It's like, what is going on? I mean, this is boggy anyway. It's just not even like it's firm. And he's put this down and then just started it on this tree left and just like held it off with like a 5-yard cut. It was just a joke. But
part of it is because I don't like my 3-wood.
Yeah, and then you hit that 3 times and ripped it 3 times.
Yeah,
so
it's a bit spinny though. It's not quite right. It's not quite there.
It's too hard work.
All right, next one. So my first question, by the way, was from Stephen Roberts. Then this one is from Matt Bryant, one of my pals, fellow lefty James. So if you could hold one shot in golf, what and where would it be? A driver, iron, chip, or putt? If you could hold a shot.
I'd really like to hold the 16th at the Masters. I'd love to just like feed it into that bank and just have it roll down, like in the final round. Like if you're in and amongst contention, just to feed it into that slope and then just watch it. Just like, I mean, I know it's as hole in ones go for a pro, it's probably one they fancy a bit more, right? Because it's more pitching it in the right spot and hoping that the mound takes. Yeah, that or the 16th at Scottsdale. I'd be mega to make an ace there.
Mark?
I've tried it a few times and come close, but I really want to hole out the second on Mill 9 with that pin on the back right.
Oh yeah, down the slope?
Yeah, so smash it on that top slope. So get it just
interesting.
right.
So you're both going for one that feeds in, so there's a bit of drama.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. But I've tried it a few times when the flag's there and come close. But yeah, that would be nice to get that right.
Yeah, that would be pretty sick, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, making anything under 5 on Mill 9 is good for me. So
you figured it out, did you not?
A little bit. I think it's Garden 9's my issue now.
Well, for me, it would be. I would love to hold a 12-foot putt on the last at the Open Championship. What venue? Venue would probably be
to win it, right?
Yeah. Just to shoot 75 and miss the cut.
Well, you've played Open Championships. So just
many a 12-footer for 3 over par. At home of golf, that would be the one breaking left to right down the green. That would be pretty sick. Zach Johnson hold a good putt in the last. That would have been a pretty good feeling. That was to get him in the playoffs. So yeah, that would be my one. So cheers for that, matey B. Sam Hower said, "How often do you fancy playing another go?" You know what? I've had quite a few people ask me this question recently, and it's a funny one actually. I do love playing golf, and I'd love to compete, but also respect how much effort all these full-time players put in. You know, watching the Challenge Tour guys go at it this week, and the Tour School guys go at it, and then back up to the top of the game. Watching the top of the game, I think has changed my perception of playing a lot. I think when I did play, I probably held some of it on a quite a high pedestal, and I think I wouldn't now, because you kind of see golf from a different point of view. So how much do I think about it? I don't think about going, well, full-time for me now would be very different. I don't think I'd ever be a full-time just golfer. But like many of the top players now, they've got other interests around their playing schedule. So
I think it's something we'd all like to see, just as, someone who gets to play golf with you as often as we do. And
it's a funny one, really, because you wing it. You think about it when you think, I've had a good day today. I could definitely go play again. But then it's not quite the same as playing out on tour, full time. Being in a hotel room on your own all week. You got to get your head around that part of it. It's not that great. I played that Europro Q School year before last. Mark, you come up in caddy for me, and the stage which was up in Oxford, like you hear about all these geezers on their jets, on the live jets and all that sort of stuff, and they've got their whole team traveling with them, and they've got their 5-star hotels, and it's a bit different staying at the Days Inn at the service station in Oxford, eating a sushi at the petrol station. That was not a high moment in it. But yeah, I would love to go and play at top level, but not at the level on the way up it would be quite tricky, I would say.
I was just about to say as well, you used to just seem pretty happy at the minute, and that's a big factor.
I'm just happy just playing Wentworth, taking James's, not his money, but
his ball marker.
We play for a ball marker. Yeah. Had quite a lot of fun in that. But I do want to compete a little bit. I'll play a bit of the MENA Tour next year. But
you seem to have found, or you're finding your way back to that happy medium. Even like now, even now being a +5 handicap, I know that's nowhere near good enough to compete against the top guys. It probably have to be. I think you need to be more like a +8 sort of handicap to be able to compete with those guys. Yeah, but it's still very good for the amount of time that you're willing to put into it. Like you say, it's about knowing your. It sounds to me like you know your level, which is great. And I think also it's not just about going and playing 1 or 2 events, is it? You've got to go and
play yourself into match sharpness as well.
Quite a few, isn't there?
Yeah. You need 4 to 6 under your belt just to kind of find out where your game is before you think you can start making some money. So
yeah, that's right.
We had another question in the Discord said, which is I said, Zane and I will be in Dubai in 2 weeks' time. We have a filming day set. Would you rather see can JS and ZS break par? It's like a better ball. JS versus ZS, or like a JS and ZS foursomes. What's the best score you can do? And everybody voted for B. Can
we break par?
No, it'd be me against you, which is the one I didn't want to do. So,
well, you got to go with the public.
What, with shots?
Yeah. +5 handicapper.
Or maybe I could play like 5 clubs or something.
I don't want to. I wouldn't give a shot. I wouldn't give a shot for a club.
You wouldn't give a shot?
No, because you're a filth iron player, so you'd probably buzz off of having to like chip it up and stuff like that. I'd be just as happy to get more shots and take clubs out of my bag.
Interesting.
Happy to do that as well if you want. Well, you want to give up a club for what, half a shot?
What? So each club I give up, I get an extra half shot.
Half a shot, yeah.
So if I give up 4 clubs, I get 2 extra shots.
I don't think that's worth it, is it?
Well, I could give up a gap wedge quite easily and lean a sand wedge and keep a pitching wedge. I'd happily give up driver because I'm pretty good with 3-wood. I'd give up 4-iron because I'd chip up a 5. I could chip up a 5-wood.
Turf's different over there, though, isn't it? Where would you be playing?
Probably the Hills Club.
Shock.
Ooh, yeah.
Here we go. Go where he's good.
Well, that'd be interesting. See, obviously pick out which format you're going to play. I'd be quite interested to see which one you pick before you even start, because that's a bit of a gamble.
I was quite looking forward to seeing if we could team up, have some, have some camaraderie.
There's no fun in that, is there?
And try and break par. Just 15 years of this,
there's no fun in that.
Strain for accolades and bant.
There's no fun in that.
Maybe Josh and I can somehow get over there and play against the pair of you.
There we go. That'd be nice. We actually got a really good record when we play together, but he never wants to play with me. He always wants to take my money. Someone actually asked.
We'd have a decent record, I would say. Yeah.
Someone actually asks, in your ongoing friendship with Zane, have you ever beat him? So
yeah, you definitely have.
I think I won once at Wisley.
You won a couple of times.
Yeah. I might have won at London Club once. I definitely won once at Wiz.
There was probably a time when you won when I didn't realise we were playing.
Yeah, there you go.
Winning's winning.
I've definitely been on Mill 9 a couple of times, like 1 up and not 1, that's for sure.
There was that one time when it was you, Josh and I, and you were like, I think you were beating us both gross, and then you made 8.
What, down Mill 9?
Yeah.
See, that's when you need my dream shot, isn't it?
Yeah.
You just completely effed it. It was like
I just don't know what to do there.
Completely lost it.
I was 2 or 3. I think I was 2 or 3 under on the night of tea, wasn't I? And finished over par.
Anyone who's not played at Wisley, the Mill 9 is like a 440-yard par 4 from the back tee, and it's the water, the circumference is the hole all right the right hand side, right up to from the tee to the green, basically. And James's little draw, it's not. Also,
the prevailing wind's off the left, isn't it?
And the left hand side is like
the play
and also like feathered with bunkers.
You'd be hit short at the bunkers. It's honestly, people stress about that hole, and it's just, you know what? You just aim down the left. Like if you get in a par 3 and there's water on the left, just aim at the right fringe.
If
you push it a bit, you're still in. You're not in a bit. People
so easy.
I've got to hit it on the green, or I've got to hit it. It's in the fairway. It's like, okay, you hit in the fairway, probably in the water. I'm going to hit down the left, and I'm going to beat you. That's literally how it goes.
And there are some trees on the left within the first sort of 120 yards from tee to as you make your way down the hole. They're not really in play. No. But even further left than that, about 5 yards left, at the beginning just over the path, there's a bin. You don't want to know how many times I've seen people hit it. Hit the bin. You don't want to know how many times. That tee makes I ended up getting good at that hole because I just go to the right hand side of the box and I like shape my body so I can't even see water and I just wang it. You go for the par 3. I wang it way left, and then just hit then it's probably about as long as it's not that left to right into wind, which is pretty tough on Mill 9, but it's obviously a great wind for 8 because it's like straight down out the left for that par 5.
And then and it's got you got 6 iron in, haven't you? But it's actually quite a good angle to come in from, as long as the pin's not like middle left, because you've got that big bunker there. But if you've got a pin where you go from, that might be a good spot to hold it from.
Yeah.
So from the bin.
Good point.
Yeah.
That's good. That. Okay, so what are you boys up to this week? What's in your golfing calendars?
Oh, I'm not playing at all this week, but I'm definitely going to practice a lot and try and sort these clubs out and decide whether they're going on eBay or whether I'm going to persevere. I'm going to get a new driver this week as well.
What are you going to get?
I'm going to get a TSR, I think.
See the Titleist club's coming back out here. Got all Titleist for the back. He's using the Cameron putter as well, and Titleist ball and Vokey wedges.
Yeah, putter was all right. Just nothing really dropped. It's wintry greens, there, isn't it? It's a bit knobbly, but it went okay. I'm definitely not going to change the 3 or the 5 wood. They're really good. You got okay with the 3 wood now, because you obviously had a dig at me about changing the head, but
yeah, I mean, you're just good with a 3 wood, aren't you?
I am good with 3
Just really good with a 3 wood. Mark, are you playing this week or doing any golfing?
I'm not playing, but I've got a bit of work this week. So I'm doing a bit of work with a GOAT member actually on the Thursday, and then
Nice.
busy for the rest of the week.
Who's
and then
that?
That's Matt Reynolds.
Oh, nice.
So really looking forward to that. He reached out after the Grove Day. So we're going to spend the afternoon together on Thursday, which will be cool. Yeah, some other bits and pieces through the week, and then some merch stuff that's going out this week as well.
you got a meeting with JL, haven't you, this week?
Yeah, we got a meeting with JL on Wednesday. So it's a busy week really.
Yeah, good.
I got to
Good.
get in the den with B unit, and we're. I can't say too much because we're waiting to make a big announcement, but we're digitalising the golfer, so it's coming a bit more into the user's hands now. So there'll be something they need to design to assist us with the impending game, which will be pretty fun.
So you just told us a lot there about telling us anything.
Exactly.
And what about that event? We were talking about an event. Is it December, end of November, December? I think we got the green light for some of that stuff that you were going to ask about.
Yeah, we pitched.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the weather's crap now, isn't it? So places like pitch become great. We were down there on Wednesday or Thursday, and what a great vibe it is in there. And actually get to play golf and not be like freezing your nuts off and getting wet. And so I chat to the guys down there, and we will come up with a date to have an evening at pitch, likely pitch Soho in December. And so they've got a bunch of simulators down there, so we'll get on the GT quads and play some golf on there, and then we just got to grab someone's Xbox or something like that. Maybe I'll speak to Roman, my son, to even borrow his, and get the Tiger Woods game up in one of the sims up on the big screen. That would be pretty good. And then we have chatted about the VR. I've never tried VR golf. There must be a couple of Oculuses knocking around, James, so we'll get that going. But yeah, that would be a bit of a new age golf thing, really. And pitch is a really, really good venue in London, easy to get to, really good vibe, drinks, and good socialising.
Yeah, and at that time of year, it's going to be buzzing more so than it normally is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always a great vibe in there, as you said, but it'll be buzzing.
I think I might try and head up there this week because it looks like it's going to rain every day this week.
Yeah, nice. That also answers Bloomer's question, who was like, can we get a pre-Christmas event at Pitch London? Just let us know a date and a time. Loads of members want to come along. So, yeah, I'll donate the PS5 for the event because I've already got Tiger Woods on there. And by that time,
You'll be really good at it. And you'll be like...
I am really
the
good
champion.
At it. I am really good at it. I just won the FedEx Cup, so
Very nice.
yeah.
Do you have to play a whole season for that?
Well, you can skip events, but I was going toe to toe with Morikawa every week. I took off, he won, which is really annoying. So I had to play more events. I was just trying to skip my way through to the finals after winning a couple early on. But anyway, by which point there will be a TBTC golf course on there for people to play on, which would be pretty cool. So
Let that one slip. Oh.
I'm not slipping, just
There you
letting people
go.
know.
Oh, it's out there. That's cool. That'll be fun. That'll be really good. So yeah, all right, boys. Have a good week. Thank you everybody for listening. Like, follow, subscribe at Bear Tiger across all the channels, and enjoy the rain.
See you later.
Peace.